folks, it's Patriot Nurse, and in today's segment I wanted to discuss with you a few points that I hope will guide your prepping, medically speaking, and hopefully give you a better, more focused, well-rounded idea of some important concepts to assist you with getting ready medically. So I have 3 points here today that I wanted to touch on with you, and I hope that they will shed some light on a few subject matters regarding medical prep. So let's go ahead and jump into it. One point that I have heard very briefly hit on when I have heard on it is that the boring stuff medically, boring things kill you just as easily as the glitzy, glamorous combat medicine type of interactions. What do I mean by that? What I mean is that the boring things like influenza, infectious diarrhea, these things right here kill you just as easily, if not more, than a gunshot wound. And let me explain why I say that. For most people, you're going to be far more likely to contract and die from a disease via respiratory tract, digestive tract, whatever, than you are to be incurring a gunshot wound and then bleeding out from it. That being said, I am a fan of learning how to deal with traumatic injuries like gunshot wounds. I think everybody who carries a gun ought to get medical training regarding how to deal with the aftermath of a gunshot wound. But I think for most people it's very easy to get sort of blindsided by, oh wow, a gunshot wound, quick claw, all of these things. Oh, I need to focus my energies there. I would submit that while there is merit certainly to learning about quick claw and those sorts of things, I think that it is very important to focus your energies on the scenarios that are most likely to happen, your most anticipated scenarios. So when I say the boring things that are likely to kill you, I'm talking about things like waterborne diseases. So when we're thinking about prepping, I think it's very important to keep in mind that not only having a good source of water, but also having at least one method, preferably 2 or 3, to sterilize your water and to make your water clean so that you don't get sick from it. I would also add that it's a good idea to have a home base of water purification and a mobile method of purification, meaning something you carry in your bug-out bag, whether it's purification tablets or something more complex like an ionization system. I think it's a good thing to have both of those bases covered. So that way, the diseases that you could potentially contract from water, the diseases that give you slow, nasty, and painful deaths, you are not so likely to encounter those. So that's a check a little bit on the boring stuff versus the glitzy stuff. A second point that I would like to hit on with you is sort of related to the exciting stuff, storing gear and medical equipment, medical supplies. Let's talk about bandages here for a second. In a pretty nasty wound, you're going to go through a lot of bandages anyway. Just a regular dressing change for a decent sized gash. If it's a large wound that is issuing a lot of fluid, you're probably going to go through 3, possibly 4, maybe even more dressing changes per day just to get the nastiness away from the wound. In a long-term grid down scenario where your access to sanitation, to hygiene systems is not so very good as it once was, you're going to really need to focus on keeping a wound clean, because you're not going to want to be cleaning it with nasty water, and you really want to be keeping dirt and grossness out of it anyway. So when a dressing gets soiled, you're going to want to change it post-haste. Storing bandages in a large quantity is probably a good idea, and I recognize that this can be cost prohibitive for a lot of people, so I also want to throw out an option for you. If you go to thrift stores and you look at like the Goodwill or wherever, a lot of times you can find flat sheets or fitted sheets for like 50 cents, 99 cents, just depends. You can take like a full size or a queen size flat sheet and cut it into strips for bandages. So I mean there are options here for you as well. Also, if you can store the 3x4 non-adherent pads, Telfa pads, You can cut those things into a zillion different shapes and sizes, and they'll work for Band-Aids too. So the take-home point here is store bandages. Store more really than you think you would need. I've heard this thrown out before, store 3 times what you think you would need as far as bandages, and I think that's honestly a pretty safe bet. Because with one wound, you're going to be going through a whole lot, and you'd be amazed how quickly you can draw down your supply just based on one nasty wound. So just something to think about there. Now, the third thing I want to address with you is related to nutrition and food. And don't zone me out here because it's food and it's not glitzy, it's important. Don't underestimate your need for good, tasty, nutritious food. Food that you normally eat is a very good thing to store. It's an even better thing to store if the food that you normally eat is nutrient dense, mineral dense, and is filled with the good things that are going to keep you going. Beans and rice are a good thing to store. However, I don't think I would want to subsist with the majority of my food staples being beans and rice every day. They're cheap. They're a good option if you're first starting out into prepping and you need to amass a backup food source at a good clip. But let's be real here, they don't have a lot of nutrients outside. I'm talking like the extra things like vitamin C's and whatnot. Beans and rice are good, but they're not super great. You need to have some variety in your food supply if you can. I recognize that this is a very expensive endeavor for a whole lot of people, and money's tight right now. So if you can, just try and pick up an extra can or two of canned vegetables whenever you go to the store. Just try and make it a realizable goal here. But it's a good idea to store spices also, to grow herbs, things like rosemary, basil, oregano if you can. But we need to really remember that when we run nutrient deficiencies because we're not eating a well-varied diet, those nutrient deficiencies are going to make us much more likely to contract different diseases. It's sort of like if you have any building, for instance, any exterior of a building that's in disrepair, if you're not being vigilant to plug the gaps, over time those gaps will grow and grow and grow and make your exterior much more susceptible to damage. So these are just things to consider. I wanted to put it out there sort of as some food for thought. Because there are a lot of how-to videos on there, but I just kind of wanted to get your wheels turning just a little bit, and hopefully we can all learn something from it and be better and more balanced in our prep work. So I hope it's been helpful for you today, and for now it's Patriot Nurse signing off. See y'all later. Bye.